Good morning, everybody. This is Chris. That's the banner for Last Regiment. Behind me, I'm from Boomzap, and we are live and we are streaming. I have a whole lot of announcements and things to get to today, so I am just going to jump right into it. I have a couple stories as well. Also, there's a whole world of stuff that we're going to talk about. Now, one thing you guys just noticed, I had sort of the theme music and stuff on for a little bit, and well, not theme music. I had Spotify playing some music, and then I stopped and I started again. There's a reason behind this. We're gonna be doing that more often. So I have to go back to the very beginning and talk about a bunch of stuff that's been going on, and I will start with what is probably the largest news for everybody here. We are going to have to say goodbye to Monica. She is not going to be here at the studio any longer. She is actually next week will be her last week. So for those of you who have come to know and love Monica as being a big part of the Last Regiment team, that's come to an end. She's going to go do some other stuff. She leaves with our, best wishes and whatnot. And this is part of running a game studio. We've been around for, at this point, like 13 years. And it would be impossible for us to have kept everybody in this studio for 13 years. Nobody stays here forever. I think from the original people that we started the studio, there's me, Alan, Ben, and Adrian. Three of those people are on the Last Regiment team, actually. But any case, that's a thing that's happening. And for those of you wondering why that happened, there's a whole lot of reasons. The short answer is she wants to go do some other stuff. But there is another sort of deeper reason that we have to sort of investigate things, because the question obviously is, well, how do we replace Monica? What do we do about Monica? And she leaves a very large hole in the studio. That's a fact. And, I don't think it's going to be functionally possible to replace her. She's not a replaceable person. But we do have to kind of ask what happens to all of the things and tasks and stuff that Monica used to do. What do we do with those things? And the answer is, honestly, we need to do a serious sort of reevaluation of the way that we're marketing this game and our marketing efforts, and what was actually producing the biggest bang for the buck. Because the thing is, actually, I think a lot of the work that Monica was doing was being done extremely well, but it wasn't actually producing great results, because I think it may have been actually the wrong work. And we're looking at things like the dev blog and the Discord and all of the different ways that we go about marketing this game, and asking ourselves, what of this are we getting big results from? What of this are we getting a huge return on our investment from? And the answer is, I think, considering the time and the effort that Monica put into a lot of sort of our key marketing efforts, like the dev blog, doing edited videos and YouTube videos and all of that, if I go back and look at how many people are actually watching those, it's not very many, to be quite honest. And as we discovered later in the process with Monica, actually we can replace some of that by just pointing to the video on demand from Twitch here and saying, go watch that. Now the problem with that is Monica was doing a whole lot of editing of these documents or videos or whatever we want to call them, because I talk a lot and I was interjecting a lot of stories about politics and blah 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 into the whatever. That's gonna kind of change a little bit. As you know, we're going into beta, and I'm going to have a whole big discussion about that here in a second. But as we go into that process, some things are going to change. And one of the big things that's going to change is the way that this stream works. I don't really need to fill a bunch of time starting now, because I actually have something to fill a lot of time with, which is we're going to be playing a lot of multiplayer games. A big part of what this stream is going to be, and for a while it'll still be once a week. I think we're going to probably move it up to twice a week. And it will be a chance for people who are involved in the beta to jump in the beta and, watch me stream live while we play and look at the game and talk about balance and blah, blah, blah. And I think the stream is going to be a lot more interesting in that respect, because you can actually play the game. There will be people that can actually play and get involved in the game. And it won't just be, hey, let's watch Chris play his game again. That, at some point you kind of want to join in. So that's one thing that's going to change. And because I've got that big piece of content, the other thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to create sort of a beginning section of these, which I will actually stop the video and start the video at the beginning of, so that the video on demand actually has one nice concrete update dev blog kind of thing where I won't go on huge rants about politics or all that other stuff, and I'll keep it pretty focused on what we're doing in development, what we're doing in marketing, blah, blah, blah. You're in the middle of one of those right now. And I'm going to try to keep these at some sort of reasonable level of time, something like 30 minutes or something. So for those who are interested and just kind of want to check in once a week and see how are things going, I know a lot of you can't be here at this time. This is a convenient time for us to do this thing. For instance, if I wanted to be on European time, I'd have to be up at like 4 in the morning. So I can't do this live at 4, but what I can do is I can make sure that there's sort of a condensed, small thing for people to watch who just want to be updated on the game and kind of know what's happening here. I will try to keep that. I'll tell some stories and stuff in it, but I'll try to keep it reasonably short and reasonably to the point. We'll be doing that at the beginning of every live stream, and then we will follow that with, hey, let's go play the game, and we'll have a bunch of gameplay. So that's announcement number 1. I have a list in front of me. I have to keep to my list. I want to talk a little bit about our march to beta. This is the bit of the conversation where we talk about being a developer. And I'll be frank. Scoot over, my camera's over here. I'll be frank, it's been really rough. I was here all weekend. I haven't slept much. You can probably see in my eyes. I'm really, really tired. We're in the middle of just sort of a mad march to get this thing out. And as always happens during times like this, shit goes wrong. And let me walk you through what the week has been like. Starting with, Monica told us she's going to leave like a week ago. So we started with that. So entire marketing team leaves. Then we follow that up with Ben, who is the lead artist on the project. He is fighting with extreme periodontal disease and is probably going to lose some teeth and is actually laid up in bed with massive tooth pain and is having a hard time working. So he's out, right? Adrian, the only programmer on the project, basically didn't work all weekend and Monday and Friday because he was sick with, I don't know, some kind of weird jungle flu. It's Malaysia, that happens, right? June, one of the other artists on the project, his daughter had to be hospitalized for, I don't know what he told me, but it's a big long Latin word and I don't know what it means. So, so he's been in the hospital with his daughter. And keep in mind, he's got like a bunch of kids and he's got like grandkids and stuff, and he's spending time in the hospital with his daughter. So that happened to him. So he's there now. And then, Nelson, you guys all know Nelson, one of the designers on the project. His wife, caught some sort of weird gastrointestinal disease, and she also had to be hospitalized. And so he had to go to the hospital. All of that happened. Basically, the only 2 healthy people on the project are me and Greg. So there's that. And here's the thing, like this would be a great moment for me to throw up my hands and be like, and freak out and all this other stuff. You have to roll with it. And this is the thing. This is what I want to get to. People don't know what game development is at this scale, right? I mean, there's a couple different scales of game development, and there's 3 major scales of game development. There's scale 1, which is me and my friend, we're doing like this garage project, and we do it in our spare time, and we're making indie games. Great, that's one scale of project, and they have their own sort of world and their own difficulties and their own whatever. There's sort of scale 3 on the other end of the spectrum, which is we're Ubisoft and we're making Assassin's Creed, and there's 1,000 of us, and there's this huge machine that has to be fed and oiled and whatnot. We're not there either. We're in this sort of weird space in the middle. There's not actually a lot of us here, which is small independent studios. We pay our staff. We actually, have a professional studio where people have jobs here, and we have, job interviews and stuff like that. But we're small. The whole company's something like 30 some odd people. This particular team, the last Regiment team, is like 5 or 6 of us, right? So in this sort of small game development world, this is the game, right? And I like to think of game development itself as a game. I feel like this is a game that I play every morning. And this game of game development, you think that it's going to be about coming up with cool game design ideas, or maybe you think it's about being a great artist or being a great designer, or maybe you think it's about being a really good marketing professional or whatever, and having skills. And that's part of it. That's part of the game. But there's this other big thing that is the actual game, and the actual game is, what do you do on weeks like this? How do you get through when critical people of your staff decide that they want to go do something else with their life, or when critical people that you absolutely need to do work this week have personal problems, they're in the hospital and they have to, and you can't be like, hey, you leave your daughter in the hospital and you get back to work. I mean, that's not a thing you can do, right? I mean, you can if you're a total asshole, I guess, but you can't. That's the real thing. And this game that you play of how do you deal with these problems, this is the actual game of mid-sized independent studio development. How do you hire new people? How do you get rid of people in your staff that aren't succeeding or make them succeed better? How do you deal with all of these issues and personal problems and blah, blah, blah? That's the actual game that you're playing. And if you're not good at that game, none of the rest of that matters. You will fail, right? And this is something that's, I think a lot of people, they want to be something. I hear this a lot. I hear people say, man, I really wish I were a novelist, or, oh, wow, I was watching, Smashing Pumpkins and Billy Corgan looks like he's having a great time. I really wish I could be like a really great guitarist. And the thing is, you can be. You can literally be anything you want to be. There's nothing stopping you from doing that. If you want to be a guitarist, it's like a guitar costs like $150 to buy a cheap old beat up fucking Squire Strat. You can go get yourself a crappy guitar, and YouTube's got all the instructions. Sit down, watch the YouTube, and do it, right? You can be a guitarist, right? Now, the world does not owe you that you are going to be the world doesn't owe you that you're going to be a good guitarist, or that you're going to be a good anything. The world owes you that you can try, right? And if you want to be a good guitarist, there's going to be this early part of being a guitarist, and you can replace guitarist with anything. You can replace that with novelist or photographer or accountant. Anything you might think about doing, you can replace in this example. But we'll use guitarist for the moment. The world owes you the right to go get that guitar and to try playing guitar and to be a guitarist. Nobody can stop you from being a guitarist. But you can stop yourself from being a good guitarist. You can stop yourself from being a successful guitarist. Because there's this thing that you have to do that is the work of being a guitarist. And the work of being a guitarist is not going and playing concerts and being a guitarist. The work of being a guitarist is sitting in your room hour after hour after hour and practicing scales and learning music theory and getting your hands ready to, and all of that. You want to be a drummer? I would literally right there, it's like 3 feet from me right there is my little electronic drum set that I went and bought. And it cost me, it was brand new. I think I picked that thing up for like $500, right? $500, I'm a drummer. Can't stop me from being a drummer, right? I'm not a good drummer, right? And the thing that's stopping me from that is hours and hours of practice a day. And I sit, actually now I do about an hour and a half every day, and I sit and I work on my hands and whatever. And if I keep doing that, at some point I will be a reasonably good drummer. But even if you're good, the world doesn't actually owe you success, right? I have a very good friend. I did a podcast with him once. His name is Vincent. And he's a photographer, and he's an extremely good photographer, just an absolutely bang-up, amazing photographer. He is really struggling to make it as a photographer. And his problem is not that he's not a good photographer. He is an incredibly good photographer. Nobody who looks at his photographs would ever say he's not an amazing photographer. It is not the art of being a photographer that's stopping him from being a successful photographer. It is marketing. It is figuring out where to get clients. It is all of that stuff that's wrapped around the actually photographing of people. That's the thing that's stopping him from being a successful professional photographer. I have another good friend, Joel. I used to be in my D&D group when I was much younger. He's a game developer. He has worked for another game studios, and he always wanted to be a novelist. And so he wrote a novel. a reasonably good novel, actually. And more power to him. He got it up on Amazon, and you can go buy a copy of his novel right now. It's not doing very well. He's not making a lot of money at it, but nobody can tell him he's not a novelist, right? And that, I can go on and on with this. I'm actually right now in the market for a new junior designer trainee, like a young, straight out of college design trainee. So we put up a bunch of ads and we said, hey, anybody who wants can come apply to be a junior trainee here in the studio. And I have a whole bunch of resumes, like a whole lot, like a pile. I mean, within a couple hours, we probably got 25, 30 resumes. And most of them are pretty good. And what's really fascinating to me is almost every one of these resumes includes oh, by the way, I picked up Unity and I made some games. There they are. They're right there. Every one of these people who wants to be a game developer, they're already game developers, right? There's nothing stopping them from being game developers. They went out, got a copy of Unity or some middleware program, and they started making games, and they have games. What's stopping them from being a game developer is not being able to make games. They've actually made games. What's stopping them from being a game developer is all of this. It's running a studio and paying your taxes and, getting your stuff. There's a whole... That's the actual game. And I find that most people who complain about the game industry, they don't understand that they're not even... The things that they're worried about, the things that they think are running a game studio, aren't actually even the game. So anyway, that's my rant for today. I know I don't want... I said I wasn't going to do a bunch of rants, but this is a game industry rant, and it's actually very pertinent to what's going on right now, which is us fighting our way to this beta and figuring out how the hell we get there and do that. So, getting back to that question, I have to get back to my list of stuff. Getting back to that question, we have a Destroyed team that is trying its best. I am still at this point committing to putting out this beta sometime this weekend if we can. We'll see. Like I say, half my team is in a hospital somewhere right now. And I know that's a very, my dog ate my homework kind of answer, but this is the reality. We will get the beta out as soon as we humanly can. All the information will be there on the Discord, and we'll let you know as things progress. To be very honest, the game's actually pretty solid. I was playing it, I put about 6 hours into the game last night, and I was really genuinely surprised, because for those of you know, Battle of Westnoth just came out on Steam, which is a good game. You should check that out if you're into our kind of game. You probably like Westnoth. Pretty good game. And a lot of people have compared our gameplay to Westnoth's gameplay, and there are some certain similarities to, it's a hex-based game, it's turn-based, blah blah blah. There are some things that are similar, and so I went and I put some time in on Westnoth because it's out on Steam. I went and got a copy of it and played it, and it's a very good game. And it was interesting because I think my head has been so into my own game for so long, and I haven't really been playing other games like our game. And so I played a little bit of Westnoth, and then I was like, I don't have time for this. I got to go back to my game development. And I went back and I played our game. And I was like, our game's pretty good. I'm not saying Westnoth's not a great game, but after playing a good bit of Westnoth, I was ready to go back to our game, which is still in beta and still, highly broken. And I was ready to be depressed. I was ready to go back to our game and be like, how can we compete? And I went back to our game and I was like, our game's not bad at all, actually. It's pretty good. It's pretty. And so I had what was a surprising emotion for me last night about our game, which was wow, our game doesn't actually suck. Which, and I know that sounds like a really low bar of success, but as a working professional game developer and a working artist, you always think your stuff sucks. You always think your stuff is such crap, and you're just always like, why am I so terrible at this? And sometimes you just have to kind of remove yourself from it and then come back and look at it with fresh eyes. And when you come back, you look at it with fresh eyes, you're like, if I'm not just staring at the stuff that I know is wrong, the rest of it's actually pretty good. So yeah, that was nice. And so, I don't think we're real far off something that we can show to the world as a rough beta. So I think we'll be able to get this out relatively soon. Maybe tomorrow. We'll see. We'll see how healthy everybody is and what we can do. But we're doing the best that we can. other stuff that we need to talk about in this is the marketing thing. I actually, believe it or not, with all this stuff going on with the beta and blah, 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 I've had to kind of put my head back into marketing for a number of reasons, not the least of which being our whole marketing team just quit. So obviously, I got to come up with some solutions there. One of the big solutions is, and this is probably for the best, I have to get more involved in the marketing of our game. Again, getting back to my big rant a minute ago, as much as I wish that this game were all about me just making a great game, and if I build it, they will come, we know that the world doesn't work like that. And as the, creative director and studio founder and all of that, it's my responsibility to make sure that we're covering all of the things that need to be covered, and marketing is honestly like half of the success of this game. Half of it is the game good? The other half is, does anyone know about it? And I have not been spending the time on it that I wanted to. So I spent a good bit of this week looking at what we've done for marketing, what we will do for marketing, and what, like as I was talking about before, we're actually going to consolidate down to efforts that I think will actually produce real results. The first thing I did is I looked at our press list, and we had this huge press list that I got the team to make. Actually, a long time ago, I had hoped that we could turn the studio into a small Southeast Asian publisher, and I had gotten all of the interns and I actually hired in a bunch of marketing people, and we built this enormous press. You would not believe this press list that we built. There's literally like 8,000 lines of Excel of every single person working in the game industry and marketing. And we've been forcing Monica to plow through that list and mail every, 2-bit podunk, I made a game site, marketing people. And I looked at that and I was like, you know what? This is not productive. This is not getting us anywhere. And so I went through and I culled it down to something like 400 lines of and each line is a human being. Here are the people who either have supported us in the past, or people who are currently doing articles and things about games that are directly competitive to our game, so they're obviously somebody who's in our audience, or people who are just big enough media sites that we can't ignore them, like places like Kotaku and Polygon, which probably won't cover us, but we got to let them know we're here anyway. But the big focus actually right now for me is to go back and look at other games that we're competitive with and say, well, who has been covering them? Who has been doing articles on them? Where have they been heard of? And the quick answer is nobody. It doesn't look like the game's press is honestly that helpful in the sort of things that we're doing. It actually looks like Steam is where most people get that information. It looks like the vast majority of people looking for a game like ours go to Steam, search for strategy, and see what's popular. So that's good news and bad news. It's good news that if we can be popular on Steam, we'll get audience. It's bad news in that if we're not popular on Steam, we won't get audience. So that's a thing that we have to think about. But looking at how does that thing happen, it's clear that one of the big pieces of that success is your direct Steam marketing. How are you putting up your marketing assets and that sort of thing on Steam? How are you putting together a really nice Steam video and a really nice Steam page? How are you directing people to Steam and blah, blah, blah. The other thing that I realized, and this is one of the reasons, we had a discussion about what to do with the beta and where we would getting our feedback on beta. And we had some people on Discord say, well, can't we just do it here on Discord? Which I get that. I get, hey, you're there on Discord and that's straightforward. But the problem is it's not great threaded. We're going to have one conversation that's going to get sidetracked and that's going to get forgotten and blah, blah, blah. So I kind of wanted something that had threaded conversations. So I went back and looked at the Boomzap forum. Now we have a forum. We've had it for years. We actually put it together back in the old hidden object game days because our hidden object players wanted somewhere to go talk. Now we haven't made a hidden object PC game in years. And so that audience has largely gone away and dried up, and we've largely asked them to go over to Big Fish, who owns all of our IP for that, if they want to talk about that, which they have done. So that forum honestly hasn't had much of anything but spam posts on it since like 2016, something like that. There are a couple posts, but not much. So I said, hey, maybe we could, resurrect the forums and get people to go to the forums. But I had a lot of kickback from that. People saying, hey, look, I don't want to join another forum. I don't want to have another social media account and another password. And I totally get that. But then I thought about it on another level. And I said, that's a cul-de-sac. That's a marketing hole that we're asking people to come and get in our hole. and that whole doesn't really express out very much. And I thought, actually Reddit is a forum, and we've been trying to get people to come to our Reddit page. So maybe what we could do is we could, use Reddit as the thing for this. We could actually, use that forum. But importantly, that would actually increase our presence on Reddit. And more importantly, people can sort of, people are already there, right? If we put the beta together and we say, okay, here's the Reddit forum, join this Reddit forum, I know you've already got a Reddit user, and I know you're probably already checking Reddit every now and then, and next time you go check Reddit, if our forum is quite active and you've been active in our forum, it's going to show up on your main feed. It's going to show up as something that you might be interested in, which is kind of a call to action to you to be like, hey, remember that last Regiment game that you were playing? There's people still playing it. Come hang out with us, blah, blah, blah. So there's actually a really nice way for, and that's something our forum wouldn't have done. Our forum would not have reminded you in a way that you're comfortable with, right? We could set up email alerts or some shit like that, but that's just annoying to you, and we don't want to do that. But on Reddit, that's, you volunteered to be part of Reddit, you've joined this, and you don't want to be in it, you click off of it, but it's going to be in your feed of, hey, things I should keep in my memory and think about. So I realize this is actually maybe marketing-wise a really strong move for us. So I don't know, it's an experiment, but we're setting up the Reddit page right now. When we open up to beta, we'll get people in there, and we're putting up Flare and a lot of other stuff. But anyway, the point is, I'm focusing down our marketing efforts basically on the Discord, which is somewhat active, and I think once we get more people in, we'll become a lot more active, and it's a nice place for immediate responses. I have a thing I want to talk about, and I want someone to answer me right to hell now. That Discord's good for that, right? We've got a website, which is, a nice sort of repository of information. I heard about Last Regiment and I typed it into Google and this is what I got. That's a useful place for that thing. We have gotten very little value out of Facebook. I think we're pretty much going to just stop worrying about Facebook at all. I don't think that's really getting us anything. So instead, I think we're going to put our efforts on Reddit and on the Steam page. So that's really our main focus right now. We're going to have Discord. We're going to keep the Discord active. We're going to do this live stream, which is a place if you want to come, be part of the community and live stream and whatnot. We're going to have the Reddit, which will be our forums where we discuss things and talk about things. That'll be the sort of repository of that information. We'll keep the website because it's useful. And that's largely it. That's pretty much where, and then, we'll try to get the press to write about us and stuff like that. But the question always is, what's the call to action? Where do we want them to go? I don't think we're going to get that many people to go to the dev blog. We haven't had great luck with that, so I don't think we're going to put a lot of energy into that in the future. Instead, our energy is just going to be about making a better game, having a really great Steam page, having a really great discussion about it on Reddit, and keeping a good active Discord. I think if we do those things, we're going to have solid marketing. And this channel, this Twitch thing that we do is going to be kept relatively short. In fact, I'm almost done. And it's largely going to be me live recording into this format, a thing that you can go watch on the video on demand. And then during beta, we'll do some live streaming of us actually playing. But I doubt anybody's going to go back and watch the video on demand of that. So what I'll probably do is actually turn off the stream and then turn it back on again when we're going to do the live streaming of the games. So that way there's like a single thing that you can watch and you can get that out of your system, and we can link that one thing, which is only like a half hour long. And I'm rapidly getting to our half hour point right now. I think that's everything I wanted to talk about today. I'm looking over all my notes. That's it. As I said, we are up against the wall with this beta thing and trying to get it out. So as much as I'd love to hang out here for a couple hours and play with you good folks, I'm not going to do that. I'm actually going to go and get my nose into an Excel sheet and fix a bunch of stuff that needs to be fixed, because I need to give that Excel sheet back to Nelson when he gets back from the hospital. That's a thing. So that's what we're doing. That's the future of Last Regiment. Thank you so much for coming, for the couple of you who are here. For those of you who are watching us on the video on demand, thank you for watching that. And we'll be talking to you on the Discord and give you some more information there. And we'll be back here next week hopefully on Thursday. We'll see. I might change the schedule around a little bit, but as soon as we've got the beta out, I want to start doing some online live streaming of us playing the beta together. So expect that as soon as humanly possible. Thank you very much for coming to the live stream, and that's it for today.